The PlayStation 2 released over 23 years ago and still has an active online community. Unlike the original Xbox, which had a more refined online platform known today as Xbox Live, Sony's offering was much more limited, but it was free, unlike Xbox Live's monthly subscription. In today's video, I'll be showcasing the most active online games on the PlayStation 2 in 2023. For this video, I researched various private servers and communities for the PlayStation 2 and performed my tests during the weekend and during the week to gauge total player population. All my tests are done in North America, so your mileage may vary if you live outside this region. Now, some of the games I cover in this list even work on other platforms. This includes devices like the Steam Deck, a Windows PC, and even the Xbox Series X. Because of this wide range of crossplay support, this is even more of a reason to revisit the PlayStation 2's online multiplayer. Also, I am limited to what PS2 games I have in my library, so not all the games on this list I could personally test myself. Rather, I got my information from Discord servers and websites showing total player counts. With that out of the way, let's begin. Battlefield 2 Modern Combat. The first Battlefield game released on consoles, Battlefield 2 Modern Combat remains one of the most played online PlayStation 2 games in 2023. Thanks to its recent revival, it's currently the only way to play this game online, as other versions of Modern Combat 2 have been shut down. Generally, you can find a lobby in Modern Combat 2 during the week, while the weekends tends to be the peak player population. When I tested this game, it showed two servers, one being for Conquest and the other I believe was for Capture the Flag. So if you enjoy an objective-based first-person shooter, then this one's definitely for you. Now, how about the Call of Duty series? I'm glad to say that the PS2 Call of Duty community is still going quite strong in 2023. Let's start by talking about the most active one on this list, Call of Duty 3. You can generally find lobbies in COD 3 on the weekend and during the week, with free-for-all being the most commonly played mode and objective modes like Capture Flag being more uncommon. Call of Duty 3 also supports up to 16 players, which is always a fun time. This is very similar to the PlayStation 3 version, just heavily downgraded graphically. Meanwhile, Call of Duty Finest Hour and Call of Duty 2 Big Red One are not as active. For both games, during the weekend is your best bet to find anyone playing these games, and for the most part, it's really random. I didn't see any trends or any community picking one game or over the other. It was really sporadic, and honestly, I would say both games are almost dead at this point. If you want to jump back into Call of Duty, then I recommend sticking to Call of Duty 3, as it seemed to be the most consistent in terms of player population. Area 51 is a 2000s era first-person shooter that time forgot about. Area 51's player base is not as active as it used to be. Like many games on this list, you'll find more of a player population during the weekend, and anytime outside of that, it's not active at all. So if you want to give a first-person shooter a try that isn't Call of Duty or Battlefield, then Area 51 is probably for you. The Socom Series. Socom is a third-person tactical shooter that had many sequels on the PlayStation 2. Both Socom 1, 2, 3, and Combined Assault are all online on the PlayStation 2. Socom also has a separate online community hosted by Socom HQ, which requires a different DNS setting versus the PlayStation 2 Online's DNS. I believe the Socom HQ DNS is actually the PlayStation Rewired DNS, but I could be wrong on that. Also, Socom's player population can be viewed on PlayStationRewired.com, as they've restored many PlayStation 2 games, including the full Socom series on the PlayStation 2. From the research I was able to conduct, it seems that Socom 2 remains the most popular, whereas 1 and 3 and Combined Assault still have moderate player bases. If you do not have a PlayStation 2, you can play all the online Socom games using the PCSX2 emulator on a Windows PC. Thanks to this crossplay support, it remains one of the most active PlayStation 2 online communities to this day. Resident Evil Outbreak. Resident Evil Outbreak is a multiplayer-focused Resident Evil game that was the first in the series to have a cooperative mode. Both Resident Evil Outbreak and Resident Evil Outbreak File 2 are active on the PlayStation 2. The community around this game remains mostly on their Discord, link is in the description down below, but you can generally find lobbies in this game most of the time. Metal Gear Online. Like Metal Gear Solid 4's multiplayer, Metal Gear Solid 3 also had a multiplayer mode called Metal Gear Online. Considered the first Metal Gear Online game, it's actually been revived for a while now by a team that goes by the name of Save MGO. I talked about this team in my last video, who've also revived Metal Gear Solid 4. Anyways, Metal Gear Online 1, in my time looking for lobbies, was unsuccessful. Their website shows what active lobbies are going on, and I was unable to find one during this video. Now, it's not to say there isn't a community surrounding this game, as there's YouTube videos of people playing this game online, but it seems that Metal Gear Solid 4 is more of a popular choice nowadays. That being said, if you want to check this game out, I recommend joining their Discord, link in the description down below. The Splinter Cell community on the PlayStation 2. Thanks to fellow content creator Dorian_D, he mentioned that there's a small PlayStation 2 community surrounding the Splinter Cell games that are still playing it in 2023. They mostly congregate on the Discord channel and use X-Link Kai to connect to each other. But if you're interested in revisiting the Splinter Cell community, I'll leave a link of their Discord in the description down below. Star Wars Battlefront series. If you're like me and grew up playing the original Star Wars Battlefront games, I'm happy to say they're still online on the PlayStation 2. Let's start with the most active Battlefront game being Battlefront 2. In my testing, I found that during the weekend for Battlefront 2 had the biggest player population with the odd game during the week. Battlefront 1 on the other hand tends to be mostly played during the weekend. During the week I couldn't find an active room in Battlefront 1, which led me to believe that Battlefront 2 is still the most active Battlefront game on the PlayStation 2. If you're going to choose between Battlefront 2 or Battlefront 1, I'd recommend playing Battlefront 2 just because it has a higher player population. Regardless, both still hold up well in 2023 and remain a great multiplayer option. Various Tony Hawk games on the PlayStation 2 are live in 2023 as well. This includes Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4, Tony Hawk Underground 1, Tony Hawk Underground 2, and Tony Hawk American Wasteland. The first game I tested on this list was American Wasteland. I originally tried this game when the site showed 0 players, and to my surprise, I actually found one person in the room. Now, within 5 minutes of us playing, they ended up timing out, so I wasn't too sure if they just disconnected or it was an issue on the server end. After testing American Wasteland 2, I tried Pro Skater 4, and for some reason, I was unable to connect to the master server. But because I couldn't actually test the game myself, I couldn't confirm if there was actually anyone in the lobby at the time of testing. So your mileage will vary on Pro Skater 4. I then tried both Underground 1 and 2. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, these games would freeze on my PlayStation 2, so I was unable to check the online functionality. Going by the stats on the PlayStation 2 online player count for the past week, it seems like there's a small player base for both games. I did get a Discord message from one of the members of the Tony Hawk community telling me that there's an ongoing game this week for both Pro Skater 4 and Underground 1. It seems like this community really comes together when they're arranging games on their Discord server. So if you want to replay some of the Tony Hawk games, I would recommend visiting their Discord and trying to rearrange a game from there. Most of the Monster Hunter games released on the PlayStation 2 have been restored online so far in 2023. Both Monster Hunter 1, 2, and G are online. Now, in order to play any Monster Hunter game online, you'll have to have the Japanese version of these games, as any other versions of this game outside Japan will not work. Now, there is an English patch for the Japanese version, so if you don't speak Japanese, you should still be able to play it. I would recommend checking out their Discord channel, link in the description, as well as their website, mholdschool.com, which is a community covering all the older Monster Hunter games. Everquest Online Adventure. Everquest Online Adventures is an MMORPG released back in 2003 on the PlayStation 2. Like many other older MMOs, it eventually got shut down. That being said, thanks to the community surrounding Everquest, a new project called Return Home that has revived the MMO to be playable on both the PlayStation 2 and the PC. Since I physically don't own Everquest Online Adventures, I couldn't confirm player population. From the research I was able to conduct, it does show that this game is still commonly played, so your chances of finding other players is quite high. Now, let's talk about racing games on the PlayStation 2. Flatout 2 is a forgotten series that's still being played on the PlayStation 2. Weirdly enough, Flatout 2 had a higher player population during the week than versus on the weekend. On the weekend, I didn't actually see any lobbies for Flatout 2, so this one might just be very sporadic. If you're looking for a fun racing game that doesn't take itself too seriously and also has some cool destruction thrown into the mix, then this is one to consider. Now, if I'm going to talk about racing games, then I had to talk about Need for Speed Underground 1. According to PlayStation 2 Online's website, it showed that there was about 8 rooms, but an unknown active amount of players. I gave this a try myself, and in my luck, it was just myself in the lobby. In the past few months, I have seen this game peak up in player population. Now, if my memory serves me right, it was on the weekend as well. So if you want to revisit Underground 1, best to stick to playing this one on the weekend. Also worth mentioning that Need for Speed Underground 2 was recently revived during the recording of this video. Now, I was unable to find out which revival server had Underground 2, but if you go into the Discord and ask around, I'm sure they can point you in the right direction. Another racing game that's still kicking in 2023 is TOCA Driver 3. It's originally developed by Codemasters, the developers behind Grid and the Dirt series. You can find a small player population on the weekend, but outside of that, it's really dead. If you're into the TOCA series, TOCA Driver 2 is also available on the PlayStation 2, while TOCA Driver 3's player population remained the most consistent out of both games. That being said, it's still worth considering if you're into racing games as well. Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition. If you like street racing, then Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition is for you. Midnight Club was released by Rockstar Games, the studio behind the Grand Theft Auto series and Red Dead Redemption. Anyways, Midnight Club 3 is still being played in 2023. Like many games on this list, stick to the weekends if you want the higher player count, while during the week, you'll find the odd player here and there. If you never got a chance to play the Midnight Club series, now you have a perfect excuse to. PlayStation 2 Online. PlayStation 2 is an online community that's helped keep the PlayStation 2 alive years after it's shut down. Its website shows both the DNS you need to connect to, as well as the games that have been revived on the PlayStation 2. This also shows the current rooms, player population, and the last logins within the past hour. There's also PlayStation Rewired, which hosts various PlayStation 2 games as well too. Like PlayStation 2 Online, it also has a player count and also shows in-game lobbies as well. If you're into PSP games, they've also revived a few PSP games if you're into that. If you want my advice, I would recommend checking out both PlayStation Rewired's website and PlayStation 2 Online's website if you're starting out playing games on the PlayStation 2 Online. Since the revival of the PlayStation 2 DNS, there is over 100 games back online for the PlayStation 2. Now, a lot of the times, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach for every single PlayStation 2 game. Some games require additional work, certain regions of games might not work, with some games requiring additional steps, such as installing a patch. If you want to revisit the PlayStation 2 Online, I recommend checking out this Google Sheet. This basically has every online PlayStation 2 game in 2023. It shows the region, the DNS server that they use, any potential issues you'll come across playing that game, if it requires additional work, and most importantly, the compatibility. If you want my best advice, check out this website before you buy or download any PlayStation 2 game, as some of this information can be very crucial in order to getting these games to work. Here's a list of other PlayStation 2 games I was unable to test that have been revived on the PlayStation 2. The following games are Crash and Burn, Cold Winter, Colin McRae 2005, Conflict Global Storm, Delta Force Black Hawk Down, / Fragment, Mortal Kombat Armageddon, Mortal Kombat Deception, MotoGP 4, Need for Speed Underground 2, Pro Evolution Soccer 6, Rogue Trooper, The Sims Busting Out, Trivial Pursuit Unhinged, Twisted Metal Black, Urban Chaos Riot Response, Warhammer 40k Fire Warrior, and WWE SmackDown vs. Raw. Now, there's additional servers in development for the PlayStation 2. Big shout out to Noah at the PlayStation 2 Online Discord for letting me know this. So let's get started. Test Drive Unlimited is currently in beta for its private servers. This project is called PlayStation 2 Paradise. Gran Turismo 4 has a private server beta that's currently ongoing, as well as Need for Speed Most Wanted, which is also in development as we speak. And that was the most active PlayStation 2 online games in 2023. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you made this far in the video, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate the support. Anyways, appreciate the love and support, guys. Until the next one, peace.